Welcome to Forbidden Planet TV at Christmas. I'm Andrew Sumner. It's Yuletide, Christmases are coming, the goose is getting fat, and it's time for that one perfect gift for the genre fan, the loved one in your life. And we have at Forbidden Planet stores that one perfect gift for you. It's M.A. Kuzniar's beautifully evocative Christmas themed novel, Midnight in Everwood, which is a riff on the Nutcracker, but is a beautiful and inspired riff on the Nutcracker. And recently, Emma, aka Mia, parachuted via sled into Forbidden Planet TV to tell me all about it. It's an excellent book, but don't take my word for it. Have a listen to Mia. Take care. Welcome to Forbidden Planet TV. I'm Andrew Sumner, and today my very special guest is M.A. Kuzniar, the author of the epic Midnight in Everwood. Now, M.A., aka Mia, how are you?
I'm very well, thanks. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Oh, thanks so much for joining us. So, what can you tell me about Midnight in Everwood?
Well, Midnight in Everwood is a retelling of Nutcracker. So it begins in Edwardian Nottingham with our main character, Marietta Stelle. And when we meet her, she's on the cusp of turning 21 and she loves dancing ballet more than anything. But she's born into quite a high society, rich family, and they kind of see her ballet dancing as, kind of like a silly little hobby. And they really want her to kind of put it aside, get married, take her place in society. She does not want to do this. But then a mysterious new neighbor called Dr. Drosselmeier moves into a neighbouring townhouse. And her parents think, this is the perfect match. But things kind of take a very surprising turn, and Marietta finds herself transported to Everwood, which is this really magical world of like enchantments. Everything's very sugary. There's even a frozen sugar palace there. And, she's completely overtaken by it all. But once again, things are not quite as they seem.
Fantastic. Now, I've got a few deep dive questions, but for you, without maybe jumping into too many spoilers. But it's a retelling of the Nutcracker. Before we get into that, what's the significance of the ballet for you? Have you always been a fan?
Yes, I love ballet so much. And I actually go to ballet classes here in Nottingham every week, even though I'm completely terrible at it. I love it. And the Nutcracker is my favorite ballet. It kind of combines two of my loves, ballet and Christmas, and I just love it.
I'm with you on that. I'm a huge Christmas fan. So I'm a great Christmas lover. And the Nottingham setting is your hometown, of course, right?
No, it isn't actually.
It isn't your hometown?
No. I actually hadn't even visited Nottingham before I moved here about 5 years ago now from Spain.
Brilliant. And how long did you live in Spain for?
6 years total.
Well, and so before Spain, where were you?
I was a student in London, and before that I was a student in Aberystwyth.
Oh, amazing. Yeah.
Hometown is actually Northampton, but I haven't really been.
Oh, right. Okay. Famous for writers, of course. Alan Moore's hometown. Yes, very, very resonant for Forbidden Planet.
Yes, definitely.
So Marietta's a very strong, proud protagonist who seems a bit out of her time, perhaps. Where did your inspiration for her come from?
I don't think I have one inspiration for her. I think she's just kind of an amalgamation of everything I love. I love fantasy books. I've always been drawn to strong female characters. I grew up with Buffy. I'm a huge Buffy fan. So it just felt natural to me to just write her that way. And all my books have really strong female characters in them. And it's what I find the most fun to write. I love it.
Yeah, great. Yeah, I completely get that. And of course, the mark of a great novel is not just how strong and powerful the protagonist is, but the villain. And your villain in this book is Drosselmeier's at first intriguing, but soon becomes fantastically creepy and reveals a tremendously vindictive side. Was he fun to write?
He was really fun to explore because you kind of go into the Nutcracker thinking Drosselmeier is this very kindly, grandfatherly figure. But I was very surprised. After I decided to retell the Nutcracker, I looked at the original story by E.T.A. Hoffmann, and his Drosselmeier is quite creepy. You know, he's whispering all these stories into Marie, who was renamed Clara for the ballet, into her ear and almost like grooming her, really. So I wanted to really kind of delve deeper into that and kind of explore that side of him.
Yeah, I think you do. I think you do a wonderful job, and the book as a whole, you touched upon the Christmas element. It has a kind of wonderful wintry feel. I was talking to Laura, who's Forbidden Planet's head book buyer, and she was saying just reading your novel made her want to curl up with a hot chocolate. Yeah, what is it about Christmas and that period of time that speaks to you?
Oh, I love that. Okay, well, I don't know if you've seen the movie Elf, but
Of course, yeah.
brilliant. I am like Elf. And every year around November, or if I'm being really honest, October, or if I'm being even more honest, September, my inner elf starts to creep out. And I love the whole aesthetic of Christmas. Winter's my favorite season. I love the snow, the cold. You know, I just get so excited. I'm putting together gingerbread houses on the weekends. And I don't know if you've seen my Instagram or not, Cozy Reads, but I can make a mean hot chocolate as well.
Well, I tell you what, I'm absolutely checking that, because this is something that you and I absolutely have in common.
Oh,
I too am a huge Christmas addict, and I too get incredibly excited once we get into the autumn time. I absolutely love it. I get very depressed when it's over as well. I don't deal with early January very well, because it's not Christmas anymore.
I know, I hate it. It's like the furthest away from Christmas you are. My husband doesn't understand that logic. He thinks, well, because you've just had Christmas, it's not the furthest point away. And I'm like, well, no, it's the furthest point away until you can celebrate it again. So
Absolutely right. Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. Yeah, no, I really struggle with that mid-January and Christmas is all over now thing.
yeah.
And you also write children's fiction published by Puffin. How does the process differ in terms of your children's novels and Midnight in Everwood? How does that differ for you?
I do. I write the Ship of Shadows series with Puffin.
Amazing.
About
Yeah, it's great.
Kind of all-female crew on this like haunted,
Yeah.
kraken-nibbled pirate ship. The process is actually quite similar, because I have the same drafting and editing process for anything I write, whether it's a novel for adults or children or a short story. But there are definitely things that are very different about each one. Like, for example, children's books, they have to be so fast-paced and interesting, and you know, every page, every paragraph, it has to really capture their interest. Otherwise, you know, your reader's just going to put it down and go and find something else more interesting to do. And then adult books, of course, are physically longer, so they do take me longer to write as well. And with Midnight in Everwood, I wanted to evoke a really kind of lush writing style, kind of very descriptive, almost decadent, so that reading it echoes almost the experience that Marietta has in the book of this kind of lush sensory world. So that, of course, took me a bit of time to kind of write everything how I wanted it to be.
Yeah, I was talking to my daughter about the female friendships that you explore in the book, and she found them to be really, really compelling.
Oh,
yeah,
great.
And she's a young woman in her early 20s, you know, but I think the way that your female friendships work, she found them to have a tremendous amount of authenticity. Now, where did that come from within you? Was that very deliberate? Was it something you had to work on? Does it just flow out of you?
I set out writing Midnight in Everwood. Yes, there is a romantic relationship, but because Marietta is kind of finding who she is as a person and her path on how to be that person, I wanted her to have more than just a romantic relationship. And I think there's something so wonderfully supportive about a good friendship that, you know, you can tell them anything, they won't judge you, they really allow you room to grow and be yourself. And I think it's very important that she kind of experienced both of those sides of things to kind of grow into herself more. So it was very deliberate.
Yeah, no, it's so well done. And Laura, who I mentioned before, she used to dance as a child, and she
Oh,
loves books that focus on that world. And her question for you was, what other books or films that touch upon the kind of dancing genre did you draw inspiration from, if any?
well, I love the Tiny Pretty Things duology.
Yeah,
That's
so
so
does
good.
she, by the way. Laura loves those books.
Oh, that's great. And the recent Netflix adaptation of that was brilliant as well. Then you've got other movies, other films like Save the Last Dance and Black Swan that I loved. But I do find that all of these are kind of darker contemporaries in genre. And I really wanted to bring ballet into more of a magical fantasy setting because that's what I love to read the most. And you don't tend to see ballet in fantasy books as much. So I really wanted to do that. And I think it just lends itself so well to it with all the magic and enchantments.
Yeah, I think that's true, and I think you've done a wonderful job of weaving that, magic, dancing, winter, Christmas tapestry.
Yeah,
I
thank
think
you.
I think it all comes together beautifully. And maybe before we leave, what are you working on at the moment?
Oh, well, I just handed in my first draft of my second novel for adults to my editor. That's coming out next October, and it's very much in the same vein as Midnight in Everwood. So you can expect ballet and snow and, another very foodie book. So you will need chocolate to read it. But
Wonderful. Do you have a title for that book yet?
no, I don't. I'm excited to share more about that soon.
Oh well, when it's out there and the book and the book's released, you must come back and talk to us about that one too.
Oh, I would love to.
Thanks so much for joining me today. You have been watching Mia M.A. Kuzniar talking about her novel Midnight in Everwood, which you can order from the links attached to this conversation. Mia, thanks so much for joining me, mate. It's been wonderful talking to you.
Thanks so much for having me. I've really enjoyed this.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
If you're enjoying watching Forbidden Planet TV and you're enjoying watching us talk to the world's most interesting and accomplished filmmakers, authors, artists, musicians, creators, subscribe right here. See you soon.